Alright, I'm going to be showing you a French match I just played. This guy hosted a French match in the multiplayer room for MTGO, so I loaded my Jeleva French deck, which is still far from optimized in my opinion, but it has a decent game. It's a little bit slower than the other one. Obviously you don't have Mana Crypt and such. We're going to keep this hand. In 1v1 you just multi-6, so Electromancer with 2 lands, and we have reach guaranteed if we just get mana. It is good with this build. We've got a couple defensive spells, though one of them is dead against him, so this is almost like a multi-6 already, but Electromancer is very, very good tech in this deck, and it makes up for some of the loss of Soul Ring and Mana Crypt. So I want to keep this hand because he's very good. Because we lack the free mana ritual type effect that you get from being able to play the mana rocks. We hit a Past in Flames, which isn't very good here. He's drawing us extra cards, and he's ramped an extreme amount, but it looks like he doesn't have much follow-up, and he's digging for it. So as he's digging for it, he's giving us free cards, which is a very bad idea. Okay. He plays Seedborn Muse. I bounce it with Cyclonic Rift for tempo, so he doesn't swing at me. I want to just stall a turn, because it doesn't look like he has anything, and I don't want him to start pumping this township and just go to town on me. Draw a Fellwar Stone, so I'm just going to cast it just to get a little more mana out before I time spiral. That is my plan at this point. I don't really want to use this Chain of Vapor because he has so much mana. It would be smart to maybe sack the forest to bounce the Electromancer. I don't know if he's smart enough to make the play, but I'm not going to give him the chance, so there's no real reason to waste it here. But he draws me into a High Tide with this guy after he's drawn me a second card now. So I wouldn't have seen the High Tide. I would have only seen 2 Fellwar Stone now. So not only that, but I get an island. Not that it really matters because I have to cast High Tide at the gate, but I get to untap it with Spiral, so it's +1 mana there. So he's made us, given us a faster hand here with better odds of hitting on turn. Much better odds of hitting on turn. Whereas before we thought this was possibly a turn 6 kill unless we got lucky. Now I'm thinking there's a decent chance I get it. We hit this Diabolic Tutor, which is a card I really don't like because it costs 4, which is too much. It's not very good against all the counter spells everyone plays, but with the cost reduction tech it's not as bad, and I just need more cards that hit, period, with the loss of Vampiric Tutor and Imperial Seal. And this card hasn't been horrible, but it hasn't really been great either. But as you can see here, I have the cost reduction tech and tons of mana because I Spiral Tided, so it's going to be absolutely perfect. We're going to preordain first because we don't really know what we want to grab with this yet. We don't know if we need to take Ad Nauseam. We're going to just see what we get off the top first. Maybe we'll get some value. And we get Time Twister, so we're going to go to Notion Wheel. And he could have a Swords. I mean, I did just give him a full new 7. But I think he probably only plays Swords and Path. And even if he kills the Notion Thief, I still get a Twister. I guess you could have made an argument to play Ad Nauseam here to try to dodge the Swords, but partly because I'm lazy and partly because it's just a guaranteed way to win because his hand will get twisted away and I'll get a craft of 14, so even if I can't win this turn, I can definitely win next turn. And he can't really just kill me with just a couple pumps of Gavany Township in it, one swing. So I'm not really too worried, though I think it probably might have been slightly better to just go straight into Ad Nauseam, but I had enough mana to win with Ad Nauseam, and I had High Tide online, so it was probably actually a better line here. But it doesn't really matter. It could have mattered, but it ended up not mattering here. If you're playing this deck, you should just take Ad Nauseam right at that point in the game. Slight misplay, I guess. Actually, pretty large misplay since it opens me to not a better chance of losing. But then again, if you whiff on Ad Nauseam, you're at such low life that he can just swing and kill you. And this deck doesn't really play wipes, so it's not necessarily a strictly worse line. His hand is gone, and I have Doomsday, and I have a let's see here, a Mystical Tutor, and I think I have a Cantrip. Yep, a Cantrip and Probe. So my plan here is to grab Frantic Search with Probe plus the Tutor to be able to untap my lands here I have not made my land drop yet, so I can go up to... Actually, I did make my land drop. Oh, I have Mox Diamond. That's what it is, Mox Diamond. So it's going to be play Mox Diamond first. That gets me the extra mana. So that's going to allow me to cast Frantic Search off of this probe, because its cost is reduced by 1 from the Goblin Electromancer, and that's going to let me untap with High Tide to 6. And before we hit this Gush, I was thinking that I was just going to go Grim Tutor into Windfall with Notion Thief out, because that hits me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so, because it doesn't count, no, because this leaves the hand, so that would be 9. So it nets me 18 cards, and it leaves all this in my yard with the Piff, so with the High Tide and the Frantic Search, there also is something to be said for just going, let's see here. Yeah, you can just go Piff for 3. Yeah, this line's actually better. You just go Piff for 3, and then you High Tide, and then you Frantic Search again on tapping to 9, and then you go Grim Tutor, and then you wheel out with extra mana to draw the 18 plus cards and win. But because I hit this Gush, I know I have a win for sure. He has no way to kill me. His hand is gone. He doesn't have swords or path, so we're just going to go Doomsday and use Gush to kill him. And just for good measure and practice, we're going to put Pact in the pile just in case he did have something, because we have the ability to do that using LED. And I don't want to click that button. I want to click that button. That sucks. Pretty much I had Gush, so I just got LED Probe Yogg win, because I already had that super juicy yard, and I had extra mana floating, and I had extra islands, so I could flash back the Gush for free again. So all I needed was Probe plus Gush to move through my pile, and I held up, let's see here, I held up Pact, and I didn't even have to use any of my floating mana to move through my pile at all. So I had a protected pile up for nothing, because I could flash back my Gush. So I just used that for good measure, because if someone else was in the game, like FFA or something, that would be a decent pile. Though I probably wouldn't use that pile because I had a Force of Will in my hand, and I wouldn't have wanted to cast LED at all, because then it opens me up to counterspell if there was a blue player. So I think if I had that, I would have just moved through my pile. Since there's no Mana Crypt, it would have to be... I have the Gush. I can just use Dark Ritual and Probe, because I had the floating, right? Or did I at that point? I don't know if I did. Where did this black come from? LED. No, I didn't. So I couldn't have done it that way. I'm sure there's some way to do it, but I don't even really want to think about it right now, to be honest. Because I had 2 floating. Labman's not reduced by this. So I would not allow him to go through that pile. I would have to make mana. In this build, I think that would almost have to be LED. Though, what was my hand? Because if I don't flash back the Gush, then I still have High Tide Tech in play. Did I have enough mana to go? I think I had enough mana to go LED. No, I was one short. No, because I had the Goblin in my Electromancer play. I could have went LED plus Probe, but then if they probably won't counter the Probe. They'll probably wait for the Yogg will, but then there's a chance that they could counter the Probe and you would lose that way. But you could go into Mind's Desire and then just flip a guaranteed win. That would be kind of cool. That's it for this video.